New Year's Eve always lied. It dressed itself in gold lights and champagne promises, pretending that time could be reset with a countdown and a kiss. But time never forgot. It only waited. The estate sat high above the city, carved into the hills like a private secret. From the outside it glowed, warm, celebratory, alive. Inside, however, the air felt held, as if the walls themselves were listening. Diddy stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, a crystal glass untouched in his hand. The city below pulsed with fireworks testing the sky too early. He liked control, timing, entrances, exits. Tonight was supposed to be perfect, exclusive, silent, safe. Beyoncé arrived without an announcement. She didn't need one. The room shifted the moment she stepped in, heels clicking softly against marble. She wore silver, reflective enough to catch every flicker of light, yet her expression remained unreadable. Her eyes moved slowly, deliberately, as if cataloging something no one else could see. "Something's off," she said quietly, before anyone asked her anything. Diddy turned, forcing a smile. "It's New Year's. Everyone's tense." "That's not it," Beyoncé replied. "This place feels crowded." Jay-Z stood closest to the main door, his body angled toward it by instinct. He hadn't spoken since arriving. He watched reflections instead of people, mirrors, windows, the black screens of powered-down TVs. Reflections told the truth faster. "I keep hearing things," Jay-Z said finally, "but only when no one's talking." The music pulsed low, expensive speakers humming with bass designed to calm, not excite. Guests laughed too loudly. Every laugh ended a second too early, as if cut off. At exactly 11:11 p.m., the first glitch happened. All the lights flickered, once. Not a blackout, not a failure, just a blink. Like the house had closed its eyes. Someone joked about bad wiring. Someone else raised a glass. The party continued, but the countdown clocks mounted along the walls froze. 11:11:11. The numbers didn't change. Beyoncé walked toward one of the screens. The glass reflected her face, and something behind her that wasn't there when she turned around. "Diddy," she said, not taking her eyes off the screen. "Who owned this place before you?" Diddy hesitated. "A fraction too long. It was an investment property." "That's not an answer," Jay-Z said. Before Diddy could respond, the music stopped. Not faded, not paused. Stopped. Silence poured into the room, thick and immediate. Conversations died mid-sentence. Glasses hovered in the air. Even breathing felt too loud. Then came the sound. A whisper, not from one place but everywhere at once. Then, people laughed nervously. 9. The countdown wasn't coming from the speakers. It wasn't amplified. It was inside the walls. Inside the floor. Inside their chests. "Who's doing that?" Someone shouted. 8. The doors locked. Every exit sealed with a mechanical finality that echoed through the estate. Phones came out, no signal. Not even emergency. Beyoncé felt a pressure behind her eyes, like a memory trying to surface. Images flashed, previous New Year's Eves, champagne spilling like rituals, rooms filled with faces that later disappeared from headlines, from memory. 7. "This isn't a joke," Jay-Z said sharply. He pulled at the door handle again. It didn't move. Diddy's control cracked for the first time. "This house has systems, backup systems. This shouldn't be happening." Sick. The mirrors began to fog, though the room wasn't cold. Shapes pressed against the glass from the other side. Handprints appeared slowly, deliberately, as if whoever or whatever was touching them wanted to be seen. Guests screamed. The whisper grew clearer, deeper. 5. Beyoncé closed her eyes and remembered. Something she had never allowed herself to remember. A previous countdown. A different room. A promise made in silence. "What happens at midnight?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos. No one answered. 4. The TVs turned on by themselves. Black and white footage played, security angles, recording rooms, hallways at night, familiar places, familiar faces, moments that were never meant to be archived. Jay-Z recognized one clip immediately. "That footage was destroyed," he said. 3. The whisper changed. "Remember," the word hit harder than any scream. People fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Some cried. Some laughed hysterically. Some stared into the screens, unable to look away. 2. Diddy backed away from the window. Outside, the city's fireworks exploded in celebration. Bright, joyful, completely unaware. Inside, the house inhaled. 1. The clocks jumped forward. 12 a.m. Every light went out, and in the darkness something spoke. Not in a whisper, but in a voice that carried authority older than the house itself. "Happy New Year," it said. "Now we begin." Darkness did not arrive all at once. It layered itself, After several seconds, emergency lights flickered on, bathing the estate in a dull red glow. Faces looked unfamiliar beneath it, distorted, guilty, hollow. The party was gone. What remained were witnesses. No music, no laughter, only the low, continuous hum of the house breathing. Beyoncé stood perfectly still at the center of the room. She could feel it now, an awareness moving through the walls, sliding behind her thoughts, touching memories like pages in a book. "This place isn't haunted," she said quietly. "It's awake." Every TV shut off at once, then one turned back on. A single camera angle filled the screen. The same living room. The same guests, but empty. No people, no movement. A timestamp blinked in the corner. December 30 wars. 11:59 p.m. Jay-Z stepped closer.
That's not live.
The numbers changed. It's rewinding, Diddy said, his voice tight. The house responded. Lights along the hallway snapped on one by one, leading away from the room like a path being offered or demanded. A door at the end creaked open slowly. From inside came a sound. Clapping. Slow, measured, patient. Someone screamed and tried to run. They slammed into an invisible barrier where the doorway should have been. The house had redrawn itself. "No one leaves," Beyoncé said. "Not until it's done." Jay-Z looked at her. "You know what it is." She nodded once. "I think we all do." They followed the hallway. The air grew colder with every step. The walls changed texture. Smooth marble giving way to raw concrete. Gold decor faded into exposed wiring. Luxury stripped away, revealing something older underneath. The room at the end was a recording studio. Not symbolic, real. Microphones hung from the ceiling, gently swaying though no wind moved. Red record lights blinked, alive. A massive soundboard dominated the center of the room, its sliders already moving on their own. On the far wall, a digital display glowed. Session New Year Archive. Status active. "Who started this session?" Diddy demanded. The answer came through the speakers, layered with dozens of voices, men, women, whispers overlapping. "You did." The door slammed shut behind them. The recording booth window fogged, then cleared. Inside the booth stood figures, not shadows, not ghosts, people. Some young, some older, some dressed like staff, others like guests from other years. Other houses, other nights. Their eyes were open but empty, like paused recordings. Beyoncé felt her chest tighten. She recognized some of them. Names that never made headlines. Faces that vanished between albums, tours, after-parties. "They stayed," she whispered. "In here." Jay-Z's jaw clenched. "No, we left them behind." The soundboard sliders snapped upward. The speakers came alive. Voices, laughing, pleading, agreeing, promising. A collage of consent and confusion layered so tightly it became impossible to separate truth from performance. Then a new sound entered. A countdown. Not whispered this time. Recorded. Mechanical. "This is what happens every year," Beyoncé said. "Isn't it?" Diddy shook his head. "No, this is wrong. This wasn't part of..." The house interrupted. "Every new year is a contract," the voice said calmly. "Witnessed, recorded, forgotten." The figures in the booth began to move. Not stepping, looping. Repeating gestures. One knocked on the glass again and again, silently mouthing the same word. "Remember," Jay-Z slammed his fist against the console. "You don't get to judge us." The room reacted instantly. Sound spiked. A high-pitched feedback scream tore through the air. Jay-Z staggered back, clutching his ears as blood trickled from his nose. "Judgment is not the purpose," the voice replied. "Playback is." The TVs turned on again, surrounding the room. Each screen showed a different New Year's Eve. Different houses. Different years. The same ritual. Midnight, silence, agreement without words. On one screen, Beyoncé saw herself, years younger, smiling, raising a glass. She remembered the moment clearly now. Not what happened. What she chose not to see. "This house feeds on silence," she said. "On what we didn't say. What we didn't stop." The figures pressed closer to the glass. The countdown resumed. To minus 10 minutes to archive completion. Diddy backed away. "What happens when it completes?" The voice softened. "Permanent storage." The booth door unlocked. One figure stepped out. Then another. They didn't attack. They walked calmly toward the group, eyes still empty, mouths opening to speak words that weren't theirs. "You were there. You heard me. You turned the music up." Hands brushed past Beyoncé, not touching, but close enough to carry memory. Regret flooded the room like smoke. Jay-Z grabbed her arm. "We can't let this finish." She met his eyes. "Then we have to do the one thing we never did." The countdown dropped. 5 minutes. The house leaned in, listening, waiting. The house adjusted its tone. Not louder, not quieter. Closer. The red emergency lights dimmed until they barely existed, forcing the room to rely on the glow of screens and the soft pulse of the countdown clock hovering above the soundboard. 4:32, 04:31. The figures who had exited the booth stopped a few feet away. They stood patiently like guests waiting for instructions. Their mouths moved slightly now, syncing to audio only the house could hear. Beyoncé stepped forward. Every instinct told her not to, but instinct had been wrong before. "This isn't about punishment," she said, projecting calm she didn't fully feel. "You don't want revenge." The voice paused. "Acknowledgement," it replied. "Completion." Jay-Z scanned the room. The walls were subtly shifting, panels sliding, angles changing, narrowing the space. The house was tightening its grip. "What happens if we don't cooperate?" he asked. The answer didn't come immediately. Instead, one of the screens changed. It showed a future New Year's Eve. A stage, lights, crowds chanting names, then static. The image resumed with empty seats, canceled dates, headlines scrolling too fast to read. A legacy erased not with scandal, but with silence. "You won't destroy us," Diddy snapped. "You need us." The house responded without emotion. "We needed witnesses. You needed forgetting." The countdown accelerated for half a second, just enough to register as a threat, then stabilized again. 03:10. Beyoncé's breath shook. "I remember the rule," she said quietly. The room stilled. Jay-Z turned to her. "What rule?" She swallowed. "Every year, midnight, everyone agrees without speaking. If someone breaks, the silence absorbs it." The figures reacted, their heads tilted in perfect unison. "Silence isn't empty," Beyoncé continued. "It's a container. You stored everything we refused to carry." The house hummed, pleased. Diddy let out a bitter laugh. "So what? This thing wants a confession." "No," the voice corrected. "It wants balance." The soundboard sliders moved again, 3 of them rising higher than the rest, each labeled with a name. Beyoncé, Jay-Z, Diddy. A microphone descended from the ceiling, stopping directly in front of Beyoncé. Jay-Z stepped in front of her instantly. "No!" The house reacted. A sharp pressure forced him to his knees. "Not pain, wait." Gravity intensified around him until his hands hit the floor. "Participation is voluntary," the voice said. "Refusal is recorded." Beyoncé placed a hand on Jay-Z's shoulder. The pressure eased slightly. She looked at the microphone, at the figures behind it, at the screens replaying moments she had spent years reframing. "What happens if I speak?" she asked. "You remove silence," the voice replied, "and inherit what it was hiding." The countdown flashed. Suguru. Diddy backed away from his microphone. "I'm not doing this." The house didn't force him. Instead, his screen changed. It showed a door, a familiar one. A previous New Year's Eve. Behind it, someone knocking. Diddy's face drained of color. "That wasn't," he started. The knocking on the screen grew louder. Jay-Z pushed himself upright. "If we don't do this together, it won't matter who talks." Beyoncé exhaled slowly. She leaned into the microphone. The red record light turned solid. "I knew," she said. The word echoed, not amplified but multiplied, reflected through every surface. The figures flinched. "I knew when something wasn't right. I knew when silence felt easier than interruption. I told myself it wasn't my place." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "That silence didn't protect me. It protected the night." The countdown slowed. 1 or 12. Jay-Z's microphone descended. He stared at it for a long moment. "I rationalized," he said finally. "I convinced myself power was neutrality, that not choosing sides was wisdom." The house absorbed every word. The pressure in the room shifted. Diddy's microphone lowered last. He shook his head. "You want me to confess? Fine." The screen behind him exploded into overlapping footage. Doors closing, music rising, laughter swallowing discomfort. "I curated silence," he said, anger and fear colliding, "because silence keeps things clean, profitable." The figures began to cry. Not loudly. Recorded crying, looping. The countdown entered its final minute. 0:59. The house vibrated violently now, struggling to contain what it was receiving. "Balance requires one more thing," the voice said. The lights snapped to white, blinding. "Witnesses must choose what remains." The screens went dark, except one. It showed the booth, empty now. A single open door. "Someone stays," Jay-Z said. The house did not deny it. The countdown reached 10 seconds. The figures stepped back. The door waited. The countdown reached 0:09 and then stopped. Not at 0, at 9. The house wanted a decision, not a finale. The white light faded. leaving the recording studio bare and honest. No luxury, no illusion. The booth door stood open like a mouth waiting to be fed. Beyoncé felt the pull first. Not fear, gravity. As if the house recognized the weight she had already taken on. No, Jay-Z said immediately, stepping in front of her again. This isn't how balance works. The voice answered softly now. Tired, ancient. Balance is not fairness.
It is equivalence.
Diddy laughed once, hollow. You're saying someone has to become the container? Yes. The figures, those who had once been guests, assistants, bystanders, lined the walls. They were clearer now, more human. Their eyes had returned, heavy with relief and grief intertwined. Beyoncé walked past Jay-Z this time. I started breaking the silence, she said. That doesn't mean I should disappear. The house hummed in acknowledgement. Correct. She turned to Jay-Z. And you didn't hide. You justified, but you spoke. His jaw tightened. Then it's him, he said, not looking at Diddy. Diddy froze. The screen behind him showed the open door again, but closer now. The knocking had stopped. Whoever was behind it had waited long enough. This isn't what I agreed to, Diddy said. No, the voice replied. It's what you avoided. The floor beneath Diddy shifted subtly, guiding him forward inch by inch, not dragging. Inviting. You taught silence how to function, the house continued. You shaped it, monetized it. You do not leave it unmanaged. Diddy backed toward the booth door, panic finally cracking through control. If I go in there, what happens to me? Jay-Z answered before the house could. You stay, he said quietly. But not like this. The booth lights flickered on. Inside, the soundboard waited, alive, responsive. The record light blinked once. Beyoncé watched Diddy's reflection in the glass as he crossed the threshold. For the first time, his image lagged behind him, out of sync. Like corrupted footage. The door closed. Not slammed. Sealed. The house exhaled. The figures began to fade, not vanish, but release. Their outlines softened. Their presence lifting like breath finally let go. One by one, they turned away from the walls and walked into a light that hadn't existed before. The countdown resumed. 003, 0002, 001. Midnight arrived again. This time the clocks didn't lie. Lights returned, warm, real, human. Music came back softly, imperfectly, like a radio finding signal after a storm. Phones buzzed. Doors unlocked. Outside, fireworks bloomed exactly on time. Guests who had collapsed moments earlier now stood confused, disoriented, holding half-remembered dread like a dream already slipping away. Beyoncé and Jay-Z stood alone in the studio. The booth remained. Occupied. Will it hold? Jay-Z asked. Beyoncé nodded slowly. As long as the silence is managed. They left the room. The estate looked normal again. Beautiful, empty of accusation. By morning, the party would be remembered as exclusive, strange, unforgettable in a way no one could articulate. Weeks later, news broke quietly. A sudden disappearance. No evidence. No footage. No explanations. Just gaps. Years passed. New Year's Eves continued. But something had changed. Midnight felt heavier now, quieter. Not forced silence, but chosen awareness. People spoke sooner, walked away earlier, turned the music down when something felt wrong. And in one forgotten recording studio, high above a city that never stopped celebrating, a single red light stayed on, recording, waiting, making sure the night was never empty again.